Hello folks, it's Johnny Flynn. I'm running for U.S. Senate, and I want to expose the vast connections to the Communist Party that our elected officials hold. If you realize Malloy had connections to the Communist Party, our current governor, Lamont, his uncle, his father were communists. Our 5 congressmen, DeLauro, Courtney, Larson, Himes, and Rosa DeLauro, all have connections to the Communist Party. So do our 2 U.S. Senators, Richard Blumenthal and Murphy. I'm going to show you all these connections if you bear with me. So, let me put it on screen. Let's switch this. Let's play it, and you decide. Here we go, folks. It's very important.
So what do I mean? Well, I want to go through some of the top communists in Connecticut to let people know who they are, some of the front groups they work on, then show you a pictorial display of these communists with some of your leading officials. You'll be shocked at how much they're connected. Now, the Connecticut Communist Party works through a few fronts. One of them is the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans. This is an AFL-CIO affiliate, and in the state of Connecticut, it's almost completely run by communists. It is their front. They also are strong in the Working Families Party. They also run the New Haven Peace Council, which is affiliated to the US Peace Council, which is affiliated to the World Peace Council, which is a Soviet front. It's now controlled largely by Cuban and Greek communists, but is one of the main world communist front groups, if not the main communist front group today. And its job is basically to propagandize against the US military and US military alliances, and strengthen Russia, China, and all the enemies of America by disarming this country. So some of the top communists in Connecticut, well, I'm going to start right at the top. That's Joelle Fishman. She's been in the party since the 70s at least. Her father, George, and her mother, Eddie, both long-time Communist Party members. She's a red diaper baby. She was brought up in the party. Now, she's undoubtedly the head of the Communist Party in Connecticut, and she also serves on the Communist Party National Political Committee. She's the head of it, the Political Action Committee. So her job is to liaise with the Democratic Party and move the Democratic Party as far left as she can. It's a very, very senior position. She's one of the most dangerous subversives in the country. And you look at her, she looks like anybody's grandmother. But she's extremely dedicated, a very convinced communist, and has done lots of damage to this country.
I joined the Communist Party as a teen during the upsurge of the 1960s. To end white supremacy, the war against Vietnam, and win union rights. In the Communist Party, I found a home that not only struggles day to day, but has a vision for a better future. The brutality of Trumpism threatens to turn back all the rights fought for and won during the freedom struggle so far. That's why I'm proud to be all in with the Communist Party to organize a massive and united voter turnout in the historic 2020 elections. The time is now to end exploitation and structural racism and guarantee health care, housing, education, social security, living wage jobs, equality, and peace with climate justice as basic human rights. Let's dump Trump and organize together to put people and planet before profits. My name is Joelle Fishman, and I endorse #Vote Against Fascism.
She is married to a man called Art Perlow. He's an economist. He was at Yale, I believe. Works with her on the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans, etc. His father was Victor Perlow, a bona fide Soviet spy during World War II, working in the government in Washington, head of a major Soviet spy ring. So his son is now helping to lead the Connecticut Communist Party. We've also got in New Haven Henry Lowendof, a long-time Communist Party member, very, very active in the New Haven Peace Council. Also, you have the Reverend Scott Marx, a long-time Pentecostal minister who now runs New Haven Rising, which is populated by young Communist League people. It's basically a front for the Communist Party. Now, I can't say Scott Marx has a party card, but he's attended Communist Party religious conferences. He's a regular at Communist Party events. His kids hang around with the Young Communist League. If he doesn't hold a party card, he's at least a very deep Communist Party sympathizer. And it's not surprising that a reverend would be in the Communist Party. The Communist Party has many pastors in its ranks. They deliberately recruit pastors because the church is a very influential body and they want the influence. Over in Hartford, you also have a strong branch, not as strong as not as strong as New Haven, but it's pretty strong, and that's led by a guy called Wenheimer. The ex-military guy, he's deep into the Communist Party, also a leader of the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans. And you also have Tom Connolly, another long-time communist, who is also involved in CARA. So it's one of their main fronts. Now, in Connecticut, the headquarters of the Connecticut Communist Party is at Howe Street, New Haven. It's the New Haven People's Center. And this is where the communism is organized from. This is where everything happens. I regard it as the capital of Connecticut. I think more happens there to affect the life of the people of Connecticut than happens at the official state capital, to be honest. The current governor of Connecticut is, of course, Ned Lamont. And here's a little picture of Ned marching arm in arm with Reverend Scott Marx. And here's another picture of Governor Lamont marching also with Scott Marx. Now here he is with Communist Party leader Wenheimer. And here's another picture of him with Wenheimer. He is very close to the Connecticut Communist Party, as was his predecessor, Daniel Malloy. Now, it's not surprising that Ned Lamont would want to hang around with communists from time to time, because his uncle, Corliss Lamont, was one of the top communists in America at its peak. Back in the 40s and 50s, he was a leader of the American-Soviet Friendship Society, very active in Communist Party causes. He denied he was a Communist Party member, but he was identified in several hearings as an actual party member. So that's Ned's uncle, Corliss Lamont.
Well, sir, now, in order to couch your views properly, sir, is it true to say, you mentioned that you were one of the Americans who was generally friendly towards Soviet Union. Now, you made several trips to Russia, didn't you, during the 30s?
I made 2 trips, Mr. Huey, in 1932 and 1938.
And during that period, you were one of the Americans who thought that there was something enormously hopeful for mankind going on in Russia.
That's right, but I was never an apologist for them. I always saw the mistakes and the evils in the Soviet Union. It seems to me that any country has both its good and bad sides, and that's certainly true of Russia.
Now, the senators, Richard Blumenthal, the senior senator from Connecticut. Well, here he is with Wenheimer. You know, he's good, obviously got a bit of a connection there. Here he is again with Wenheimer. So he has no problems hanging around with communists. He goes to many of their seminars, many of their events. He hangs around with them quite a lot, but not as much as his partner, the junior senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy. Now remember Chris Murphy, he was going on and on and on about Trump connected to Russia. He was leading the charge, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia.
You tweeted this public comment, and you briefed on the intelligence here, that there is evidence of a giant, quoting from you, multi-year effort to help Trump in 2020 by Russia. What can you tell us about that?
Well, what I can tell you is that it's much bigger and bolder and smarter than it was in 2016. The Russians have learned, and they are now trying to use U.S. persons and fake websites in order to proffer a narrative that helps President Trump's reelection.
Well, it just turns out that Chris is a little bit of a hypocrite. Here he is, as you'll see, with Communist Party member Wenheimer and Communist Party supporters Ruth Tulin-Sion and Marilyn Tiska. Here he is with Henry Lowendof, and if you look over his shoulder, there's Joel Fishman. Here he is with Wenheimer of the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans. And here he is with Reverend Scott Marx. And here he is again with Marilyn Tisker and Winheimer. Now, for several years, while he was abusing President Trump, Senator Murphy actually had a Communist Party member on his staff as his outreach director, a young man called Maxwell Goldman. Max Goldman, a Communist Party member, was serving on Chris Murphy's staff. Now, we need to understand that the Communist Party USA was once loyal to the Soviet Union, but
I don't know how much more information you need. This thing goes on and on.
now it is loyal to China. Don't get me wrong, it's still connected to the Russian Communist Party, but now it's loyal to China. So Chris Murphy, who was attacking Trump, had a member of the Communist Party on his staff, a member of a party that is loyal to both the Communist Party of Russia and to the Communist Party of China. Was that a little bit of a security risk? You know, so Chris Murphy was serving at the time on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's one of their top men. Do you think his activities would be of some interest to the Communist Party? And nobody thinks that having a communist on the staff is a problem. Now here's John Larson of Connecticut's 1st Congressional District. Connecticut has 5 Congress members. Here he is with Winheimer. Here he is with Win again. And here's Tom Connolly of the Hartford, Connecticut Party holding up a sign campaigning for this man. The part of the power that the Communist Party has is that it runs campaigns to elect these people. And so if you're elected by the Communist Party, you will tend to listen to them when they come to your door wanting some policy proposals adopted, or wanting you to do something, or wanting you to get some funding directed their way. For instance, the Connecticut Communist Party headquarters, the New Haven People Center, has had massive state grants directed to them. They get a lot of money from the state. And here's Jim Himes of Connecticut's 4th District. Now, Jim was elected, so the Communist Party says, with their help. Now, Jim did his thesis as a young man on the Nicaraguan Sandinistas self-defense units. These were the sort of spy force of the Nicaraguan Sandinistas, who were pro-Soviet communists. So these were the people who would watch the neighborhood to make sure nobody was doing anything the party wouldn't approve of. And Jim Himes thought these were very good organizations. And this man serves on the Intelligence Committee in the House of Representatives. What could possibly go wrong with that? Now here is Joe Courtney of Connecticut's 2nd District, a very long-term time-serving congressman. Now here he is with bracing his good friend, Communist Party member Tom Connolly. And here he is with Winheimer, who calls him his friend. And here he is with Winheimer and Joel Fishman, and Joel's mother, Edie Fishman, also a communist. Well, what could be a problem with this? Now, Joe Courtney serves on the Armed Services Committee, overseeing the US military, specializing in the submarine subcommittee because Connecticut builds submarines. Well, the Chinese are challenging the American Navy in the Pacific right now. Is it a good idea for a man serving on the Armed Services Committee to be hanging around with pro-Chinese communists? Can you see a possible problem, a little bit of a security risk here? And here's Johanna Hayes from the Connecticut's 5th Congressional District. Now she's a newbie. I think she's just been re-elected once. Teacher of the Year, very photogenic, very popular person. Well, she hasn't had a lot of time to get working with the communists yet, but she was elected with the help of a man called Len Yaniali, a Communist Party member who worked in her office, wrote letters supporting her, you know, just publicizing her, very much helped to get her elected. Here is the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans outside Johanna Hayes' office, and she writes a little note saying how she just can't wait to work with the Connecticut Alliance. She wants to cooperate with them. This is a Communist Party front, and she should know that. Everybody else on the left in Connecticut knows that, and it's hard to imagine that she does not. Now here's the best one of all. This is Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut's 3rd District. She's been working with the Communist Party for at least 15 years. So why should that be a problem? Well, it just turns out that Rosa DeLauro is probably the third-ranking Democrat in the House, I believe. She works with Nancy Pelosi, allocating positions. I mean, allocating who's going to serve on what committee in the Congress. That's an extremely important post. And here, as you will see, she is a long-time friend and supporter of Joel Fishman of the Communist Party's Political Action Committee, the part of the Communist Party that liaises with the Democratic Party to get what it wants. So here you see, back in I think 2011, you have Rosa DeLauro speaking at the New Haven People's Center, the Communist Party headquarters. Here she is. You can just see Winheimer there embracing her very good friend, Joel Fishman. Here she is with another Communist Party supporter, Celestino Cordova. Here she is with a bona fide Communist Party member and labor union official, Blair Bertuccini. And here she is in Cuba in 2011 with a whole bunch of other congressional Congress members with a woman called Portia Segelbaum having a little meal together. Well, Portia Segelbaum is a long-time Communist Party USA member. She married a Cuban. She lives in Cuba. She does some work for CBS News, but she also works for Radio Havana. She's effectively a Cuban agent. Back in 2012, one of the top Connecticut communists, a man called Al Marda, celebrated his 90th birthday. He's been active in the Communist Party since the 50s, and they decided to hold a big birthday bash for him. So they have a host celebrations committee. Rosa DeLauro is on that committee. So are several Connecticut state reps. Alderman from New Haven. The Communist Party runs the New Haven Board of Alders. Tony Harp, the former mayor of Connecticut, was very much a Communist Party sympathizer as well, and she's on the host committee. And then you have Craig Gautier of the Communist Party, Henry Lowendof, Reverend Scott Marx, and Jarvis Tyner of the head office of the Communist Party in New York. So here they are, all are serving on this host committee together to celebrate the 90th birthday of this top Connecticut communist. Well, this man, Al Marda, is the leader of the New Haven Peace Council. He's very active in the World Peace Council. He travels all over the world to basically sell America out. And here he is with Henry Lowendof in Moscow in 2015. They're there to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the victory over fascism, meaning the victory over Nazi Germany. And here's Al Marda on stage at a Communist Party event, just about to get hugged by Gennady Zyuganov, the head of the Russian Communist Party. So this is how deep communism has penetrated Connecticut, folks. They are connected to every single one of your Congress members, both of your senators, your governor, your previous governor, the previous mayor of New Haven, a whole bunch of the Alders in New Haven, and a whole bunch of your state representatives. The Communist Party, I believe, is more powerful than the Democratic Party in Connecticut, and it's probably 200 to 300 members.
Well, every elected official in Connecticut has connections to the Communist Party. So that's why we're in such bad shape. And I don't know who you can blame, but it's important to know that Henry Lowendof, Joel Fishman, and Winheimer, their connections to Himes and Murphy and Blumenthal and Rosa DeLauro, Joe Courtney, Larson, and they're working on Johanna Hayes. So the question is, how do they falsify these elections? Well, Himes's election, I'm told by the Democrats, was rigged. So was Attorney General Tong. I believe Rosa DeLauro got beat in her last election, and it's shocking that the algorithm gave them all a 60% victory and a 40% loss to the Republican candidates. But it's amazing that Hymes's people were threatened, and Hymes' opponents were threatened. One was arrested. Joe Courtney's opponent was arrested. The mayor of Norwalk's opponent was arrested. And Hymes threatened to withdraw Narcan from opioid patients to his other opponent, who's an opioid advocate. So it really doesn't look good, folks, that they're that deep with Scott Marx, with the New Haven People Center, with Portia Seligbaum, a Cuban agent. And who are the top communists in Connecticut? It's tough to say, since they're all connected. So thank you very much for listening. It was very important that you heard these connections, because you need to vote these people out. Have a great day. I'm Johnny Flynn, running for U.S. Senate against Richard Blumenthal, who wrote the Iran deal. So there you go.